We'll get going here in just a moment. Talk about what all is going on here. Things are starting to develop now, starting to get a little active, and we'll try to break it all down for you here in just a second. Trying to load my graphics here first, and then we'll go from there. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Yours truly, Ken Johnson, here with you. Of course, the last couple updates I've done from home. Now I'm here at the station. Time right now is about 4:18, and things are starting to develop now, and things are starting to come together. The Storm Prediction Center just issued a severe thunderstorm watch that covers a large part of the area. Now you may say, okay, so I'm glad it's just a severe thunderstorm watch and not a tornado watch. Well, there was a lot of talk of, do we go tornado watch with this or do we go severe thunderstorm watch with this? The thought process amongst the folks up at the Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center was that this is more of a significant wind threat than a tornado threat. So they chose severe thunderstorm watch over tornado watch. But there will probably still be some tornadoes embedded within all of this here too. The main concern with this remains damaging wind gusts, and the Storm Prediction Center has labeled this as what's called a particularly dangerous situation, is what they've labeled this as here. So that's a bit of a step up from just a regular old severe thunderstorm watch. They sometimes when there's a big threat for like destructive tornadoes and that kind of stuff, they'll label a particularly dangerous tornado watch. Well, they do the same thing for severe thunderstorm watches when the threat is pretty high for some really destructive straight line winds. And that's what we're looking at. And that's what our main concern is here for this evening, will be destructive winds here. Now, there are some thought processes that I'm taking into consideration. There are some things I'm taking into consideration here that could perhaps maybe impact this a little bit here. But let's kind of break it all down for you now. So let's do it. And I'm going to share my computer here, and I'm going to have to go full screen, so I won't see your questions right now, but I will go back and try to answer them the best I can. So as of right now, here is your radar, and it's so incredibly, folks, it is so incredibly humid outside. It feels like living on the it feels like living right there on the beach. Hold on, I'm responding to my kid. He just texted me or tried to call me. So it is incredibly humid outside. I mean, it is air you can wear. Now, it is not as hot temperature wise because of all that humidity, but it certainly feels like it. Now, on the radar this afternoon, these have actually had a few little severe thunderstorm warnings on them. These are just these are not anything too major here. These are mostly just kind of some showers and storms that are kind of developing as a result of all the heat and the humidity. In fact, they are producing an outflow boundary. And if you look, you can kind of see that right there. Here's kind of a little bit of an outflow boundary here. And that's kind of some rain cooled air. I don't know how cool it is, though. You know, and there is a bit of, and again, this is just me thinking out loud. This is not me forecasting. I'm just thinking out loud here. That, you know, if these storms here are generating rain cooled outflow boundaries, is it eating up and gobbling up the energy in the atmosphere? Are we beginning, or is this taking some of that energy that otherwise was there? Is this chewing some of it up? You know, if you think about it, if you plant a garden and you have a lot of plants in a small area, what happens is they start fighting nutrients. They started fighting for nutrients. One plant might gobble them up, or they start fighting for the nutrients in the soil, so they don't grow the same way. So, you know, my thought process is, you know, what if these storms here, these little, we call them nothing showers, thunderstorms, what if they were to gobble up the instability in the atmosphere? So when the main event gets here, would that lessen the blow? I don't think it will, because it is so humid outside. But I would be interesting to see, because if the air on the other side of that outflow boundary is real cool, then that could play a role in things that happen. Also, that outflow boundary, especially if it can stall somewhere, and some of these storms can kind of anchor along it, then, that might may enhance a bit of the horizontal spin of the atmosphere. And that might even give a bit of a heightened tornado risk with some of these storms here, or even heightened wind risk here. So we'll have to keep just so many things at play, so many things that can happen here this afternoon. We'll have to just keep an eye on it and see what happens. But this is not the main event here. This is just, again, a little band of showers and thunderstorms have developed out ahead of the main everything. And these will kind of slowly drift to the east. And from time to time, they could become severe and they could produce a little hail. Right now, they don't look too bad. In fact, the strongest on the radar is up here in southwest Oklahoma, west of Altus. In fact, Cam is along Highway 287 now, headed towards Vernon. And his plan is to intercept this stuff up there as it comes in from the northwest. I think the main activity here, and also look down here, there's also some storms developing down there closer. And look at that big outflow boundary near Abilene. So lots of things, tornado warnings over there in northeast Texas. So lots of things can happen, even Shreveport on the app. Look at how it's just so much humidity and so much instability, so much energy in the atmosphere that so much can happen. But, I'm going to watch these outflow boundaries and see what happens. And I'm going to see if it cools the air mass off or if it doesn't play any role in the activity at all. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. I was thinking that it might, but, I'm not ready to say that yet. But it is certainly something I'm thinking about here. I don't know what happened there. So if we go look up to the north here, here's your main event. This is where our main event's coming from. This is how everything's kind of unfolding. So you got these little showers, thunderstorms developing here. Those aren't too rough, but you got some storms that are developing up here in northern parts of Oklahoma, north of Oklahoma City. You'll probably see some more develop over in here. Then we got some really big storms developing along this. Look at, there's some severe and tornado warnings over that way. So, and if you look at the pink there, that's confirmed. That's actually had several confirmed tornadoes there up in the Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle. That's actually a big tube up there earlier. If you, what I expect to happen is a lot of weather information weakens this stuff. I don't know if that's going to dissipate that stuff. I don't know that that's going to happen. But what I do think is going to happen is, though, I do think that these areas will kind of come together, and you're going to kind of see a bit of a line that'll develop like this, and you'll have embedded supercells within that, and that'll eventually kind of progress off to the southeast into this direction here. Okay, as it does so, you're going to start seeing some bowing segments, along that there. You might wind up seeing some of these what we call MCVs develop within it. And that is an area going to be an area of enhanced winds. So if you were going to see those big wind gusts in those storms, it would be with those MCVs. But again, it just depends on what happens. I mean, that's a pretty appreciable outflow boundary there. If it cools everything off, if this drops here and everything, the temperatures drop north of it, that could stabilize everything, and that might limit the threat. But that's just a thought. That's only a thought. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just something I'm going to watch. Or if that outflow boundary stalls and then begins to lift back north, or if these storms anchor. There's so many different things. But these showers and storms up here in Oklahoma, these are trying to get better organized along the Texas and Oklahoma border there, up there in the Panhandle. Some hail there now, but they could get a little bit more intense. But there's your bigger storms. And somebody messaged me from Amarillo here. Now, this storm is riding. You can see this storm has produced an outflow boundary. You can see it there on the radar. They're moving through Amarillo. And but this storm is kind of moving to the southeast. I think that this storm here is going to become one of those dominating cells. When I talk about MCVs, it's rotating now, and you got several north. Look at all those storms there between the Panhandle of Oklahoma and all the way down east of Amarillo. All this storm activity is going to finally merge here at some point this evening. But each one of these are supercells. Each one of these are rotating. Okay, and they got some rotation in them. But they're going to merge together. And as they merge together, they'll begin to kind of link up. And you won't see as much rotation, but a lot of the energy within them will start to be focused on what we call a cold pool. And that's a lot of the storms will be pushing their energy out, not sucking it in. You won't have, to get a rotating supercell has winds flowing into it and out of it. But for here, you get winds blowing predominantly out of it here. And a lot of that's on the leading edge. But if these things remain cellular, then you kind of get a situation where you're dealing with more supercells than you are these MCSs. So then the damaging wind threat becomes more isolated within those supercells and not as widespread. But I do believe that these storms here are going to all eventually link up this afternoon and this evening. They're going to link up there, and they're going to link up with storms to the north and also these storms to the south here. And you're going to see several of these become what we call bow echoes. And there's going to be some of these are going to rotate. And where they rotate, they're going to produce enhanced damaging wind threats and maybe some spin up tornadoes. But you're also going to see us, they link up at some point in time this evening, they're going to become widespread damaging winds there. You can see storms now developing southeast of there's storms developing everywhere here now. There really isn't a cap, and that's that's a lot of the issue too. But these storms here may wind up at some point. They're going to link up with those storms to the north. I think these storms will eventually link up there. This is a big supercell, and it's moving kind of southeast. And you may wind up seeing this become one of those enhanced wind damaging wind threat areas here. But it's getting ready, folks. It's getting ready to develop here. It really is. If you look at that big, now this is a big supercell. That thing is, folks, that is spitting out some big hail there, east of Wayside and south the east of, basically south of 287. And that is some big hail being produced by that in the Paladura Canyon range there. That thing is moving southeast. It's got a lot of energy. There's really nothing to choke it off, so it should continue to go. But that's got to be producing some baseball size hail, I bet. Maybe even larger. That's huge. Maybe softball size hail with that. If we look at the rotation in that, you don't really see a real area of concentrated rotation in it. It doesn't look like it's a tornadic circulation. But one thing I do see is I see some real strong winds. Let me look at something real fast here. Hold on. All right. So I do see something here in this. All right. So let me go back to this here. All right. So you've got real strong, you had a real strong mesocyclone with this supercell here. Okay. These are strong winds blowing towards the radar, just like that. There's your inflow. That is really strong inflow. And this is what we call the rear flank downdraft coming in on the back side of it here. You don't see that wrapping around. You don't see that wrapping into it. So I don't see a tornado with that. But this is one of those large mesocyclones. And if you hear me talk about MCVs, when this happens, you get cyclonic circulations within it, and it can really help to cause some big damaging wind threats. And you're probably going to wind up seeing some strong winds gust southeast out of this here. And you're probably going to wind up seeing some pretty big winds drop to the southeast, across the southeastern panhandle with this storm here. Maybe some spin ups, but definitely some damaging winds. And this storm eventually could find its way, over towards Childress or the western parts of northwest Texas. And then we'll watch and see these storms up to the north and see how they all behave. You can almost see these storms becoming more of instead of a north-south line, you're beginning to see them stretch out a bit. So they stretch out a bit, that wind damage becomes more of a concern. So it's going to be real interesting to see how everything comes together here. A very, very interesting weather day, to say the least. Now, these storms here in Oklahoma, they're not rotating. They're not, there's probably some updraft rotation in them, but nothing to be concerned with. And there's your outflow boundary. And as that outflow boundary moves through, again, that's rain-cooled air. Temperatures could cool off some. And if the temperatures are super cool on the other side of it, then, we could wind up seeing a situation where that does take some of the energy out. So, and if that were to happen, there's a chance that those storms could weaken by the time they get down here. Now, none of our weather information suggests that. Again, that's just me thinking out loud. I don't want you to say, oh, Ken said it was going to weaken a lot, but that is something we can kind of hope for and maybe see. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. So let me just wait and see what happens. So I continue with this pink area here. I hadn't changed this any at all. There's really no reason to. Let me make some adjustments here to this. Okay. All right, so I haven't changed any of this here. This is my pink area. Really this kind of goes up there. We probably should expand it some to the north. It probably should cover the entire western part of Oklahoma and eastern Texas Panhandle. And I also think that this thing should extend down along Interstate 20 and into Dallas. I meant to do that. I'm going to change it here in a minute, but this pink area, high threat area, should go into here. Should be in here like this. Because, it looks like it's pretty evident that 70, 80 mile per hour winds down the Metroplex here to late tonight. But that won't be until late tonight. So, again, for the remainder of the afternoon, there's going to be some thunderstorms around, rather humid, maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm warning or two. But your main event's going to come in after 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. So, it's only 4:30 now, so we got a ways to go. And then you're going to see this band of thunderstorms just crossing the area like this. And if everything comes together and we don't see these little showers that are over us now chewing up the instability or the energy in the atmosphere, these are going to really produce some big wind gusts across parts of the area. Now, are we going to see 120 mile per hour winds? I don't know about that. You'd have to get those, like I say, there's little embedded mesovortices for that to happen. But I could definitely see some, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, pretty widespread with some numbers higher than that. A lot of people have been saying, hey, do I need to, to leave my apartment if I live up on a second story? My son asked me that earlier. No, you don't. We've seen this before. We've dealt with this before. You're going to be fine. You might want to consider if you're in a mobile home getting out of that. Well, we're going to be fine. And I will say too that some of our weather information this afternoon is one we call the RRFS. It's a convective allowing model. It has more supercells than it does the MCS. So if that happens, you wind up getting more of a hail threat with isolated wind threat, isolated tornadoes, and less of that widespread destructive wind threat here. So there is the future tracker, but I do want to urge you that this is only this is most of the time a pretty good computer model, but it has been a bit off as of late, and it's not picking up on some of the thunderstorms that are already developing here. And when these things come together, oftentimes they come together quicker than what the models show, and they move faster. Because here we are at 7:30, and it does have some supercells up here. That might be a bigger hail threat, maybe even a tornado threat with some of those there from Lawton, Duncan, Waurika. And then here's your developing what we call MCS. Now, despite what you see on Facebook, and I know Max Velocity and all those other guys are talking about derecho, this is not a derecho. Okay, it won't be yet. A derecho has to be a situation where you see swaths of damaging wind events over a lot of states. Now, I will say this could be a mini derecho later tonight down there, eastern Texas, and if it can survive over into Arkansas, Louisiana, it could be classified as one. But derecho really isn't anything. It's just a name. It isn't anything different than these complexes of thunderstorms we call MCS, mesoconvective systems. That's really all they are. So there you are at 7:30, and it has everything really exploding. Again, this has it into Wichita Falls around 9 o'clock. Could be a little sooner than that. And in any of these storms here, hail, strong wind gusts, and heavy rainfall, a possibility. You even see a lot of heavy rain behind it as well here. So even once the initial blow moves through, while you may not see the strong winds with the stuff behind it, there still could be some heavy rain, even a little bit of hail here or there. But there it is blowing on through tonight. And any of these contain a lot of wind, a lot of heavy rain there. There we are at 10 o'clock, down into the Graham area. Boo. And again, it could be sooner than this. I'd say 9, 10, 11 o'clock time frame down this way here, back towards Haskell. And you got some storms behind it as well. Through midnight there. There we are. This shows at midnight. And that may be about right coming into the Dallas-Fort Worth area with those big winds and heavy rain and some smaller hail threats at that time. But remember, 70, 80 mile per hour winds down in Fort Worth, Dallas, going to be a possibility. North of that, just some good rainfall here, downpours. Something we haven't talked about much is flooding. This could produce some flooding. Remember, we just had so much rain this spring, it wouldn't take much. I know that I have a small lake behind my house, and it's still spilling over the spillway. So, I mean, and it'll probably continue to do that. But there could be some flooding with this too here. Here we are late tonight and into tomorrow. Maybe some more thunderstorm chances tomorrow and into even early Tuesday. But this looks like the worst of it is what we're seeing with this system right now. This is the worst of it. Okay. So I'm going to go back over to radar, and we're going to be smaller screen here, so you won't see you won't see it quite as large, so I can answer some questions here for you. Again, I'm watching that outflow banner to see what kind of impact it has on everything. All right, so let's go over. Wow, 821 people watching me. That is a lot of folks watching me here this afternoon. Thank you so much. But I want to also kind of reiterate here. A lot of people are real nervous about this and real scared about it and whatnot. Listen, folks, let's calm down a bit. Remember, we're not hypercasters here. We're forecasters. I've been doing this. A matter of fact, today is my 17-year anniversary in Wichita Falls, KAUZ. I've been here for 17 years, folks. 17. I've seen lots of stuff come and go. And most stuff comes and goes, and it isn't even that bad. It's usually the stuff that you don't expect is the ones that really get you. But the ones that everybody hypes up and all that kind of stuff, those are usually just nothing. Now, I'm not saying this will be nothing, but we've survived this stuff before. We're going to survive it again. This is not anything we have not experienced before, okay? We've experienced hail here. We've experienced winds. What we've experienced in the past, Same thing here. You'll experience again. We've had tornadoes and all that. We're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to make it through this. Trust me. And believe me, I'm here to hold your hand right through all of it. We're going to be on nonstop when this stuff gets ready to come on through. Weatherman Cam has already hit the road. He's headed up there towards Vernon. I'm interested to find out from him what's going on with that outflow boundary, though. I'd like to see what they're experiencing there. Let's see. I got. I'm not sure. This is Eric Fox. Looks like Eric Fox. I may try to take his stream, but he's up there also, somewhere up there chasing. I'm gonna try to get Eric Fox on some too with this, but Cameron's gonna be in the worst of it. I mean, there's a severe thunderstorm warning. Looks like north of Altus for some hell. But I'm going to be. Cameron will be in the middle of the worst of it, and I'll be right here with you too. I'm not. Listen, I'm not getting off air. I don't care if tornado's about to blow the building down. I'm still going to be right here. I'm not going anywhere. Now, if we lose power, I'm going to have to do some. I'm going to have to be creative in how I can do coverage. I may have to leave here and go home if we wind up getting power outages here and we don't lose power at my house. So, but yeah, I've been here for 17 years. You know what? And ironically, 17 years ago today when I started, we had a tornado watch and severe weather event moving through. Probably not one quite this significant, but we had a severe weather event. I'll never forget that. I had just left Mississippi where we had an active spring tornado season. It was finally calming down. Everything had finally relaxed. I come out here and boom, here we go again. So, and as I've said before in the past, and I know we got weather to talk about, but I'm just kind of mumbling on a little bit here. I stayed in which I've had plenty of opportunities to go other places. I've had chief meteorologist positions offered to me several times in Tulsa. Matter of fact, I had a lady news director a couple of weeks ago begging me to come take a spot up there in Tulsa. But I was like, I'm committed to here. And this is where my kids, my family are here. I'm committed. I just signed a new contract here. Recently I was up for the main gig in Cincinnati, Ohio, which would have been a really good job. But again, I didn't really apply for it. These people find me. I don't find them. I've always had aspirations and desires to go to Dallas, but it didn't work out for me. I wound up staying in Wichita Falls, and not because of the city, not because of the beautiful scenery around here, not because of our great weather here. I stayed in Wichita Falls because of you, because of the community. Your community was so good to me and my kids that I chose to stay here. So today, 17 years. I'm with you for at least 2 more. So. But anyway, if you're worried about weather, let's sound like we got a little downpour here at the station. I'm going to watch these outflow boundaries pushing through. They could cool us off a bit here. I'm not saying they will. And then that big tornado warning, the one we're tracking up there southeast of Amarillo, it's moving southeast now. And it's just going to be an interesting evening to see how everything comes together. And like I say, there is a chance, especially if we're getting cooled off behind this outflow boundary, there is a chance that the storms may not be quite as intense as we thought they might be if that happens. I'm not saying it will, but it is something I'll keep an eye on. Let's hope so. Needless to say, 100% chance we're getting rain this evening. So, and I do appreciate you guys very, very much. I've been here, like I say, for a long time, and I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being able to bring, good weather information to you. And one thing about the things that have changed for me a lot is, I do a whole lot more on social media and I have a larger reach now than it's just not just about Southwest Oklahoma, Northwest Texas or Texoma. It's now about, the entire region here. We're talking about all of Texas Panhandle, all of Oklahoma and North Central Texas. I don't do as much across Deep South Texas, but Dallas area, Amarillo, all those areas. We got followers all over now. So eventually, I would like to, expand and do more with some of my social media. Oh, good. My boy, Cape, there's my son, Cape. He said he loves the 940. So, and I'm assuming that you guys went to Six Flags today, and I was actually going to text you a minute ago and tell you, hey, look, the weather could be really rough coming back. If y'all are coming back tonight, it could be really, really rough. So you may want to stay put down there in Dallas and just come back tomorrow. So thank you for the kind words there. So, and again, I stay because of you. I didn't stay because of me. Like I say, I had opportunities to go other places and, in big markets, bigger dollar signs. But, at the end of the day, the community is what kept me. It was so good to me and so good to my kids that, I couldn't, this became home is what happened. It became home. So More tornado warnings up here in the Panhandle now. You got tornado warnings southeast of Amarillo with that big supercell. Although I don't see a lot of tornado circulation in that. You got tornado warning up here northwest of Pampa. And then you got the confirmed tornado warning there west northwest of Dumas. So, yeah, everything's coming together now, folks. A lot of storms coming together. We'll just have to see. Like I was saying earlier, there's this little outflow boundary. I'm going to circle it here. There's this little outflow boundary, and this, a lot of times these can stabilize the atmosphere, because you notice there's nothing up here in Quan and everything's north of there. That tells me the air mass, the atmosphere may be stabilized there a bit. So if that happens, when these storms drop down this way, they could weaken some. I'm not saying that'll happen, but that is something I'm watching for. May not matter. It may be plenty of humid enough to where it won't matter. So weather models don't suggest that, but the weather models aren't always right. So, oh no, Danielle, the 5 or 6. I mean, there could be a shower or a thunderstorm any time between now and the evening, but the bulk of the activity looks like here about 9 o'clock, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, some probably 8 or 9 o'clock, somewhere in there. So, well, thanks a lot, the true go to meteorology. Well, if you're going storm chasing when you get back, Kate, just be safe out there. It's going to be a lot of wind and a lot of rain. Ironically, on Cape was just Cape Johnson's my youngest son. Whenever he was, I don't know how old he was. They'd just gotten out for summer break back in, I'd have to do the math, but I think it was back in 2013. I went and picked he and his brother Hayes up from school. And they were all excited because they're getting out of school, out of school and whatnot. And I said, guess what, guys? We're going on a little road trip today. Yay, where are we going? We're going storm chasing. No, they all started crying. No, we don't want to go. But they wound up seeing the big El Reno tornado. We got in on that one there. And at first they were scared to death, but then they thought it was kind of cool. So, yeah, we did some enlarging the map, and I will. I'm going to enlarge it. And, like I say, I'm going to keep it. We're going to do a lot of live stuff. I do got to do a few things to get ready for the newscast here in a minute. But I am going to be live most of the evening, so you'll be able to see, and I'll have it, I'll have everything widescreen at that point in time. But I'll be live most of the evening here on Facebook and on the app here. Yeah, it's safe to go to Love Field. I don't expect. I mean, there may be a thunder shower or two down in the Dallas area, but you won't see much until later on, but like late tonight down there, like midnight probably. And Vernon again, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, somewhere in there. Sunday nights are typically what we call our family dinner nights at my house. And it seems like every time we have severe weather, it falls on a Sunday and I have to cancel it yet again. So. Well, I'll put somebody asked me to widen the screen. So I'll put the radar up one more time before I go. Cause like I say, I do have to get ready for a newscast. So looks like there's an outflow boundary moving up from the north and one moving in from the south too, but that's the big one there. And it looks like it's a pretty substantial one. And again, if you wonder what an outflow boundary, it's just basically just an area of rain cooled air. All right. So the air surrounding these thunderstorms is really muggy. It's really hot and humid. And then the showers, especially when they begin to decay like those begin to fall apart. The air from the tops of the thunderstorms where they're located falls down because it's cooler than the surrounding environment. It's more what we call dense, heavier, and it hits the ground and it generates these little outflow boundaries. And a lot of times it cools off. I call it rain cooled air is what it is, a boundary of rain cooled air. So, if that drops south, it could chew up. It could very well chew the instability up, and that could wind up helping us some. Also, wherever these things stall or if these storms can get along these boundaries, it can really, really make them rotate and spin more too. And here's some big storms down towards now into central Oklahoma. And again, our weather computer models did not pick up on this here. There are just storms everywhere. It is so humid outside and so unstable that this is an outbreak of severe thunderstorms. I'm not saying tornadoes, but an outbreak of just severe thunderstorms with hail and wind everywhere here today. These are down here to the west-southwest of Weatherford and south of Breckenridge. Just south of Graham and Possum Kingdom. And those are supercells there. There's nothing there to make them rotate down at the Earth's surface, but certainly are some big storms in those areas. There's your outflow boundary. You can see it coming. See that red color? It's moving to the south pretty fast too. That tells me it's a pretty significant outflow boundary. And then back up to the northwest, look at the winds. Now, this is becoming one of those what we call MCVs here. Look at the strong winds in this thunderstorm here. This is what the Weather Service has been worried about here. Look at that big, large area of red, and especially in here where you see this green just south of Taladura Canyon, right in there. That's some really strong wind gusts. You have a very large, what we call MCV, mesoconvective vortex, developing in that. It's going to help push those winds out, strong winds out like that. You know, you're going to have a lot of damaging winds, and you could see spin up tornadoes in that too. There, look at it surging to the south fast. That's what we're concerned about, these types of storms when they start doing this type of behavior here. And if you look at it, it's moving again moving southeast. So if you do the timing on that, that would take it down towards. It's moving pretty quickly here. That would take it down towards these counties out here during Paducah and Guthrie, those areas. Then you got these thunderstorms up here in southwest Oklahoma. They're probably putting out some hail now. And you can see there is a little bit of spin on those, but nothing to be concerned about. But see, one thing that I'm noticing is our weather information just isn't handling the situation that well. You know, what they do is they don't have these storms here, and they don't pick up on the outflow boundaries here. So maybe they're overestimating some stuff. I'm not saying they are, but maybe they are. I'm just trying to find, I worked for a guy early on in my career, David Hartman, over in Jackson, Mississippi, one of the best in the biz. He is so freaking good. He kind of helped me become who I am now. But he always said, look for the don'ts versus the do's. They'll usually overcompensate. They'll usually, those usually wind up compensating for the do's there. So, we'll just wait and see. Energy, this event's 100% dependent upon energy. You do got some pretty good jet stream energy too aloft. That's wind energy aloft coming in like this here. For this time of the year, it's pretty strong. But a lot of this is being driven by the strong, what we call CAPE, C-A-P-E, my youngest son's name, CAPE, convective available potential energy. And if you think about energy in the atmosphere, or if you think about science class, back when you were, in high school or whatnot, you learn about kinetic and you learn about potential energy. Potential energy is energy that sits still. Kinetic energy is energy in motion. So when you get a lot of heat and humidity, it creates large, it's called fat cape is what it's called. And if my son's still watching, I'm not saying that about you. I'm saying it creates what there's skinny cape and then there's fat cape. Fat cape creates big downdrafts and really big hailstones. And a lot of times those hailstones are being wind-driven hailstones too. So we have a lot of that in the place today. So it may, an outflow boundary might not make any difference. It may be enough energy to really compensate for all of that. So we just have to wait and see. So a lot of what you see me do when I'm on these, a lot of what you see me doing when I'm on these Facebook Lives or even wall to wall, you hear me thinking out loud, hear me just talking about any possible scenarios. I'm not saying it's the likely scenario, but it's a possible scenario. I don't think we're screwed, Laura. And again, like I was saying earlier, this is not a situation that we've not been in before. We will be okay. We will survive this. There's no reason to freak out. That's for sure. But people do. And the reason they freak out is because of all the nonsense on social media. And it's passed all over the place and gets shared and shared and shared and liked and followed. And that's a lot of the problem is, just so much mess out there. And, when I was on, I guess it's Wichita Whisperers earlier, and you saw somebody, several people on there talking about, who they follow for their weather information, and it's a streamer. And I'm just continue to be baffled. I mean, yes, streamers are fun to watch. Reed is fun to watch. If I got severe weather on going to Nashville, Tennessee, I'll watch Ryan Hall sometime in Max Velocity. They're fun to watch. But locally, these guys are just not going to give you the same information that you get from your local guys. I don't care if it's me or Michael Bowling down the street. You're just not going to get the same information. We know the weather patterns here better than what these other guys do that are in other parts of the country that don't follow them here every day. We know the topography. We know the geography. We know the maps. We know all these places, and we can give you better, more detailed information that's focused just in on you. The guys and these streamers, they're focused over a large area. And with a day like today, they're going to be all over the place. They got a lot of craziness all over their maps. And again, it's fun to watch. But why would you watch these guys over your local television meteorologists or your local, people that have been doing this a long time in this area? I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. Because like I said before, I don't encourage that. I encourage you to Watch your local guys because those are the ones that are going to give you the best information here. So, well, I do appreciate that, Jacob. I try to. And yeah, I am preaching a little bit. Yeah. And again, this is not a derecho. A derecho would have to be, let's say, if we were going to hit a derecho, this would be a thunderstorm wind area that develops, let's say, up near Denver, Colorado. And it goes across eastern Colorado and all of Kansas with just swaths of damaging winds, and goes through the Oklahoma, Texas panhandle, swaths of damaging winds, and then comes down here and does the same thing, and then keeps on going all the way over into Louisiana, Mississippi, those areas. This is developing over us. This is an MCS that develops over us. Now, if it can sustain itself tonight and make it all the way down into Mississippi and Alabama and all those tomorrow, then it could be classified a derecho. But as of right now, I don't think this is a derecho. I think that this is just an MCS, just a big complex of thunderstorms. So, and like I say, if you guys want to get real information, good information from somebody that's not overhyping it, you're going to go to your local television meteorologist, because they don't typically speak. And now I'm not saying there are some out there that do it, that hype a lot. And there are some really bad TV meteorologists in big markets, and they have no business, especially in a severe weather market, being on TV in those areas. But usually speaking, a good meteorologist like a James Spann over in Alabama, just using that as an example, or a Rick Mitchell in Dallas, or and I would even say, I don't know, there's guys in Oklahoma City, they're at a different breed, but they do a good job. But, Damon Lane's good, but even he'll hype it sometimes. But, you're not going to see James Spann overhyping weather. You're not going to see Rick Mitchell down in Dallas overhyping weather. You're not going to see Ken Johnson overhyping weather here. I'm just going to give you the facts and not the BS, okay? So, all right. David Payne in OKC. All right, I'm going to jump off of here, guys, and I will be live most of the evening, but I got to get some stuff together here and get ready for the newscast. And I will be talking to you guys, and just be looking for the stream. It'll be up most of the evening. I'm just jumping off for a little bit. There's nothing going on right now I need to be on for, so it'll be fine. But just be ready to listen to me this evening and be able to rock and roll if we need to. Yeah, it is a particularly dangerous situation. It's for the destructive wind potential in the storm. I'm not saying it will. It's just the potential. So, all right, I will be back on shortly.